Hi, I'm Zach Kazan. I'm an editor at Worn & Wound, and today we're going to be looking at my personal Tudor Black Bay 41, the new Black Bay with a burgundy bezel and the new Meta certified movement. Yes, it's me. It's not my colleague Blake Bettner. It's not my colleague Zach Weiss. I am actually going to be doing a Tudor video. I can't believe it. They finally let me do a Tudor video. So buckle up. Here we go. The Tudor Black Bay Burgundy has been an object of fascination for me for literally years. This is a watch that came on the scene right around the time I was getting interested in watches in a serious way. And I've always had a real soft spot and affection for that original Black Bay with a burgundy bezel, not because I love the watch's aesthetics so much, but more because of what it meant to the culture of watch collecting. It seemed to start off this new type of enthusiasm where people were really interested in vintage watches, interested in these vintage revival watches, and it put a lot of people online in the watch community in a way that few other watches really did. And I think you can trace a lot of today's current enthusiasm all the way back to that original Black Bay and a handful of other watches, but really the Black Bay is so important, and it's been really important to Tudor over the years as they've iterated on the Black Bay theme. I've never owned a Black Bay personally, but when I saw this watch at Watches and Wonders earlier this year, it all kind of clicked for me. This watch has been refined in a whole bunch of subtle ways and some not so subtle ways that just made it really appealing. And I knew from the moment I tried it on in Geneva that it was finally, after, over 10 years, the Black Bay that I really wanted to purchase for myself and make my own. And so that's what I did. I put my name on a list and my number came up. So I've had this watch for a little under a month. So let's dive into some of those changes that really sealed the deal for me. The first thing and the most obvious thing that becomes very apparent when you try this watch on is that they've made some small changes to the case to make it a lot more wearable and a lot more visually appealing. From head on, the Black Bay has always been a really nice looking watch. You have the classic diver layout on the dial, the anodized aluminum bezel. It all looks really good. But when you put the watch on or look at it from the side, in the old versions, you have the slab-sided case. The case walls just come all the way down in an almost rectangular fashion, and it just was never really very aesthetically pleasing to me personally. This watch is quite a bit more refined. The case walls no longer have that slab feeling. It looks like they've just kind of basically cut a layer off, right from the bottom, and given the case just a little bit of a more subtle curvature at the lug tips, and the result is a much more refined presence on the wrist, and it visually is just a lot more classic looking in my opinion. The visual impression is a lot more elegant, and it just wears quite a bit better. The actual measurement is only about 1 millimeter thinner than the previous version of the Black Bay, and it's actually just a hair thicker than the original version of the Black Bay that came out over 10 years ago now. But because of the visual changes, as opposed to the actual changes in measurement, the overall impression is just so much better. It really wears like a totally different watch, even though the changes are actually very small. Another change that Tudor's made with the new version of the Black Bay is to the bracelet. So you can still get the Black Bay 41 on the Oyster bracelet that it's always come on. They've added a 5-link bracelet option though for this version of the Black Bay, which is incredibly comfortable. It's just very nicely executed. It has a T-fit clasp for easy micro adjustments on the fly, and it gives the watch an entirely different impression. Previously, the Black Bay to me really seemed like it was very self-consciously trying to emulate a vintage tool watch vibe. And to me, on the 5-link bracelet, that's lessened somewhat. It feels more just like a nice looking everyday watch. I don't get tool watch vibes from this at all. It's just a beautiful looking thing. It's just one of those intangible things when you put the watch on, the drape is just perfect, feels great. This watch is that's a retail price of about $4,500, and it feels like a much more expensive watch, largely because of the bracelet when you put it on your wrist. It's very, very nicely done. If you remember, previous versions of this watch had a crown tube that was matched to the color of the bezel, kind of an unusual feature on a watch like this. That's gone. I think that's a big improvement. Since they removed that, it just makes the watch feel a little bit more serious. So we can't talk about this watch without talking about the new Meta certification that this watch has gone through. Tudor released a Black Bay about a year ago. It was their first watch with Meta certification. It was a ceramic Black Bay, and now they've rolled it out into the 41 millimeter watch as well. Meta certification is a process used by Omega, a big Tudor competitor, obviously, that certifies a watch against, basically forces of everyday wear: shock, magnetism. Magnetism is a major problem and a major force that works against watches every single day in our daily lives. So this watch, in addition to being chronometer certified, has an additional master chronometer METUS certification, and that's pretty important. That's something Tudor wants to bring to their entire product line. It really adds a lot of extra value into the watch, knowing that the movement is protected against those kind of like day-to-day forces. In the month that I've had it, I've been running this watch pretty much nonstop, and I haven't seen it more than a second or two off at any given time. So all of these changes, the smaller fragments of the case, the new bracelet, nixing the crown tube, the Meta certified movement, really took this watch from something that I appreciated from a recent historical perspective, and getting people interested in watches, and helping the industry at large and being a focal point of conversation in the community. It took it from that to a watch that I actually really wanted to have on my wrist and own. So let us know what you thought of this watch in the comments. Let us know if you think they should let me continue to talk about Tudors on camera. That'll be up for debate. But thank you for watching, and we'll be back again with more reviews soon.